Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be going through a presentation called The Hero's Journey and what it takes for us to learn how this will help us better care for our clients. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Partridge. I co founded MotiveBase back in 2015. We were the world's first predictive anthropology technology. We were acquired back in 2022. Um, I'm also the author of a couple of books. I wrote those with my former partner, Ujwal Arkell Good. The first was called Web 2.0, and the second was a bestseller called Microcultures, Understanding the Consumer Forces That Will Shape the Future of Your Business. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how we think about our clients. And first and foremost, I think that the most important thing that we need to take into consideration is that clients do not buy products or solutions. So, what do they buy? I believe that they buy a better version of themselves. And if you think about when you're going through a sales cycle, when you think about how you're delivering your value proposition, when you think about what it is that you're doing for that person that's important to you, you're not giving them a thing, you're not even giving them yourself. What you're doing is that you're trying to help them understand how their relationship with you is going to make them better at being the person that they want to be. That could be looking for success in their role. That could be increased expertise in how they're approaching their current position. That could be a matter of facilitating them taking things to the next level. All of those are incredibly important. And so, really, at the end of the day, it's our job to show them the way. We need to help them understand how to get there. So, what I want to do is I want to talk about something completely outside the realm of what we see in business and something that comes from the realm of storytelling, screenplay writing, and really kind of narrative in general. And it's called The Hero's Journey. Now, some of you are probably familiar with The Hero's Journey, but those that are not, this is the typical structure that it follows. In essence, the hero starts in a comfort zone and something happens where they're faced with a challenge. They call this the call to adventure. Now, immediately, kind of we are faced with some nervousness and they start to resist that call to action. They're scared of the change that it may entail. Oftentimes, this will lead to them seeking some sort of expertise or mentorship that can come in the way of a pep talk or somebody that explains to them that they have the potential to really kind of thrive if they're willing to answer the call to adventure. Eventually, that hero accepts things and they take what we call the leap of faith. But that leap of faith is often really faced quickly with some sort of opposition. It's faced with a challenge. And, as they continue to kind of overcome those challenges, they evolve, they grow, and eventually they hopefully achieve some sort of newfound success. And then the journey kind of culminates with them returning all the way back to the beginning where they started, hopefully better off for the journey that they've undertaken. Now, for those of you that know it and that may have not known it but now know it, this likely sounds really familiar. In essence, from mythology all the way to kind of modern day storytelling, this is a cycle that we see quite often. So, kind of from the boy wizard who, finds out that he is the chosen one and needs to overcome a series of obstacles in order to kind of go and present and push himself to take on the Dark Lord, all the way down to, kind of a young man who loses his uncle, who needs to overcome his own hubris and really kind of choose to be the friendly neighborhood solution, all the way down to a young boy on a desert planet who finds an expert who tells him that they need to go find a princess and save her, all the while kind of discovering that they have this special power. All of these kind of major franchises are built around the notion of the hero's journey. And, it's kind of from, $25 million to $32 billion to $70 billion worldwide. Clearly, this is a narrative and a storytelling structure that resonates with people, which begs the question that if it does resonate so much with people, how come we're not leveraging this in the business world? So really that's what I want to do today is I want us to think about the journey that our clients go on as they take on a project, as they take on a new solution, as they contemplate the potential for working with us, as we're thinking about ways to position ourselves as that trusted partner. So let's review the journey, but this time, instead of following the hero's journey, let's think a little bit about kind of the narrative that a client goes through as they're basically kind of overcoming a challenge. First and foremost, we know that clients often start off in a well-defined comfort zone. They're doing the day-to-day role, they're kind of facilitating what is required of them, but eventually something poses a challenge. Now, this can come in the frame of a boss that assigns them an objective that forces them out of their comfort zone. It could be a circumstance that demands their attention. But in essence, the client's problem that you're helping them solve is, in essence, their call to adventure. Now, naturally, our reptilian brain introduces itself immediately and makes them want to find a way to avoid having to address this particular issue. So they resist the issue. They're scared of change. They look for ways in order to kind of maybe find a workaround, maybe not have to take it on. But eventually they realize that they have to solve that problem. Now, oftentimes, that's where we can come in as a solution. We can be that voice of expertise if we sit in a consulting function. If the client currently is engaged with us and they are leveraging our product or service, this is where they may be looking for guidance in order to understand how we can help them on this journey overcome this challenge that has been faced with them. And we'll dig into kind of why that's such an important role in some of the slides to come. Now, obviously, the rubber hits the road and the client needs to take that leap of faith. And in this particular scenario, we're assuming that you have built that relationship where they choose to partner with you. And that word partner is really important because every client goes through that next phase where they need to overcome a challenge. And that usually comes in the form of their own internal doubts or internal naysayers that don't fully kind of buy into kind of the purpose for the journey. And it is important for us to understand how to help a client get past that phase and get onto kind of delivering a better solution. Now, if we do our job and we empower them the way that we need to, in essence, what we're doing is we're helping them achieve a solution. And if we're doing our job correctly, we're exposing them to a new way of thinking about things that helps them solve that issue in a meaningful way. And in essence, at that point, with that kind of that resolution, our client returns to that comfort state. But much like the hero's journey, they return to that kind of that original state where they are better off for having gone through the journey, which means that if we've done our job and guided them through this process, when the next adventure kind of presents itself, we're the first thing that comes to mind. And really, that's what we're going to talk about today, is the role that we can play in helping the cyclical nature of the client's journey be something that we are consistently understanding and empathizing with, so that we can help the client get from stage to stage and be that trusted partner that helps them through the journey and gets them back to that feeling of safety, which is that comfort zone within which we see at the top of the circle here on this page. So really, at the end of the day, I challenge you to think about kind of all of your clients, because I think if you think about this particular journey, it will resonate quite deeply with the challenge that many of your clients are facing every day. And really, today, the reason why that is so incredibly important is because we need to make clients feel like the hero, or in essence, we will become the villain. If we are not facilitating kind of a positive emotional reaction to the work relationship that we have with these people, then in essence, that's where we can run into problems with retention. That's where we can run into problems with perceived value. And at the end of the day, if we can think about this as a way of how we're constantly keeping the cyclical flow in a state of positive momentum moving forward, that's how we can really kind of build strong bridges and relationships with our clients. So why don't we take a look at the model in a little bit more detail, and we'll have a little bit of fun with this. If we think about that, client has a well-defined comfort zone. I oftentimes think of kind of the Lord of the Rings, right? It's the hobbit that is comfortable in their state, and really at the end of the day, they don't really want to face anything new. They don't want to face anything different. But the reality is that something is coming down the pipe. No matter what your role is, no matter kind of what your client is kind of commissioned to do, change is inevitable. And so we, as kind of somebody, need to understand that change is hard. And so the first and most important thing that we need to do, as kind of we saw Gandalf do when he arrived on Frodo's doorstep, is he needs to empathize with the situation, and we need to empathize with that situation. We need to find out what inspires kind of that client and think about kind of the goals that they have in order to help instill confidence within them. And the way to do this is that we can start by asking really, really deep questions, not just questions that are specific to the project, but that are important to the goals that this client has in order for us to better understand what it will take to help them visualize success. And really, at the end of the day, the culmination of all this is that we're trying to form a dynamic duo. We're trying not to just be somebody that is selling a product or providing a solution. Instead, what we're doing is that we're trying to build a strong relationship with the client as they're in their state of comfort, in order to help understand where the anxiety and the issues are going to present themselves. And we are not just basically telling them what to do, we're building a relationship with them so they understand that we are going to be a part of the process to help them as they go through this particular journey. And, as we do this, what we are able to start to do is we're able to start to kind of conceptualize how us as a consultant, us as a product, us as a service may fit throughout this journey, so we can think about ways that we can solve problems before they arise. Because in essence, that is a key way to be the trusted partner, to have that, kind of wizardly ability to foresee a problem and to be there to provide a solution before it presents itself. Now, as we think about kind of that next stage of where did the problem come from, or, kind of the boss has delivered an ultimatum or a circumstance has presented itself that demands that action, we need to really kind of think about the client's perspective and take a walk in their shoes. So, in this particular instance, we need to understand that fight or flight kind of emotional kind of reaction that often comes when we're facing something like change. Again, empathy is critical here in order for us to understand the complexity of where is the fear coming from, what are the issues that we might be having to face as we go through the particular journey, what are the things that are really kind of creating that anxiety, and is it the project itself, or is it the complexity of the players involved? If we can start to get to these individual kind of key components that give us a better understanding of what the client is anticipating the journey ahead to be, then we can basically help them to decode the true purpose and parameters of the project in order to help assure success. How can we start to compartmentalize and to categorize kind of our own internal doubts, and how can we start to understand the actual organizational issues that we may need to take into consideration in order to get to a positive outcome? If we can start to think about those solutions in these first two phases of the potential project, then what we can start to do is we can start to position ourselves as somebody that can train the client in the self-defense in order to protect themselves as they go through the journey. Now, even if we're going and we're doing through these things, again, the natural reaction that we often see through clients is doubt and fear. They resist kind of this potential opportunity, and they're scared of change. And again, I go back to kind of the notion of Simba in The Lion King, knowing that there's something kind of facing him and having to face Scar, but running away and kind of just pretending to hide in the jungle with Timon and Pumbaa, and really at the end of the day kind of like avoiding the situation. So how do we start to kind of help the client get over this desire for avoidance and stop coming up with excuses, or to kind of feel good and positive about the potential for where this project or this relationship could possibly go? So again, we need to continue to work to empathize with the client in order to understand and identify these true sources of anxiety. And we need to be a positive force that helps them refocus on positivity. Now, oftentimes as we're going through a sales cycle, we want to kind of get to the yes or get to the no. But what we have to understand is that at this stage, we're dealing with somebody that is really kind of acting from an emotional standpoint versus a tangible and rational standpoint. So we need to understand that we can't push. We have to gently pull in this particular instance in order to forge and build that relationship. And that can often be done by basically creating short and long-term objectives. How do we turn this into kind of bite-sized steps that get us to a really positive outcome if we continue to chew away and kind of chip away at what we have out in there in front of us? And really, kind of the power here goes back to this notion of inspiration. How do we inspire by focusing on potential? If we can take that kind of approach, then what we can do is we can start to turn that anxiety into excitement. We can turn that fear into a ferocious desire to really kind of dig our teeth in and to really kind of make change. And that really kind of is where we can start to get to some really exciting places, because in essence what we're doing now is we're saying, okay, how are we going to get there? Much like the hero goes and looks for expertise, we in essence can start to think of ourselves, whether it's through the product, the service, or how we are helping that client, as that solution. We can be that kind of that wise voice that now starts to basically kind of help them conceptualize success. So, in this particular instance, we do have to basically kind of take on the role of Yoda. We have to teach from experience. We have to think about kind of ways that we can build off of past success in order to show that this is truly something that can be important and powerful. And that if we go down this pathway, there is a potential outcome where we can come out the other side in a really positive light. Secondly, we have to have a clear point of view. We have to have structure and strategy in regards to how we are going to move forward if we're going to basically kind of position ourselves as that trusted partner. And we also have to challenge them to think differently. At the end of the day, part of the journey is about kind of growing as they go through the journey. So it's not enough just to basically kind of follow steps. What we need to be doing is we need to be thinking about how are we positioning this approach as a new positive way that's going to make things better from an ongoing standpoint. Again, that end goal being getting back to the state of comfort better from where we started. And really at the end of the day, that's what it means to be a trusted partner. Now, if we've gone through these stages and we've done that, then in essence, what we're doing is that we're showing them that not only do they have the capability, but they're partnered with somebody that has capability, wisdom, and power as well. And therefore, we're making them feel like they're joining a dream team. They really don't feel alone at this point, and they feel like they're moving in a positive direction. So at this point, they take the leap of faith. This is in essence kind of where, we have to choose, are we going to basically recede and kind of just, hide, or are we going to dig in and are we really going to start working towards this positive solution? And much like Neo being forced to choose between the red pill and the blue pill, this really is where the project begins, it starts. And we now need to start thinking about the impact it's going to have on the organization and how it's going to be received by the organization. So, really at the end of the day, there is still the requirement to guide the client through this process as we are helping them, as we are implementing things, as we are getting teams onboarded. The key buyer, the key client, that key stakeholder needs to have their choice validated. It's critical as we start in these early stages that we're proving our value immediately. And really kind of the key to success is finding ways to take what can oftentimes be a very rocky, difficult onboarding process and finding ways to make it as enjoyable as possible. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be parties and ice cream, but what I am saying is that we have to be thinking about what is the purpose of why our solution is being implemented, what is the reason our service is going to be valuable, and what are the tangible ways that we can see how by even in these early steps we're starting to get to a really, really powerful, important, exciting place. And even in those early days, we can see that this is a valuable thing to go through. So let's really kind of acknowledge that you are the person that made this decision and that you're getting better as a result of it. And this is going to have a positive impact for your organization. Because if we do that, then in essence, what we've done is we've started to make them feel special. But in essence, what we've done is we've started to make them feel like more of an expert, more talented, more capable and able in their role in trying to solve this problem that has been presented to them. So, so far, everything's going great. The reality is that at some point, there is going to be adversity that presents itself, right? So that beautiful swim that is taking place during the evening, there is a enormous shark under the water that is going to present itself. Even the best projects have some sort of adversity that presents itself as you go through that. Now, that adversity may be the client's own internal doubts, that may be technical issues that need to be overcome. Oftentimes what it can also be is it can be naysayers within an organization that are not on board with the project in the way that kind of the boss and the client that you have is totally on board with. So in that particular instance, we need to think about ways to kind of prepare for this type of challenge that is going to face ourselves. So as we can think about the steps that we've gone through, many of them have been really designed to help build trust. And at this point, we should have trust with the client. Secondly, we should be going through a series of learning by understanding the organization, understanding the role players, understanding the client, so that we can identify and anticipate where dissent may come from. And really, at the end of the day, our job is to reinforce why this approach is both unique and important. And our previous success is a critical piece of knowledge and power that we can use to validate why we are moving forward in this particular direction. So validating with our own past success in order to help try and keep the kind of the train on the tracks, as they say. And then lastly, I'm sure people are reading the last one. We might need to be the bad guy in some of these situations. And in essence, it's kind of powerful for us to, in essence, be able to talk to our clients and to say, look, we're going to talk with the teams. We're going to help them understand. We're going to do education in the organization about the product, service, or why we're taking this approach. And maybe you need to have some of those difficult conversations in order to be the hero for that particular client. So in essence, the kind of the big thing here is that you need to be prepared to weather the storm. So, really kind of if we've gone through all those different phases, the product and service is now in place, the consulting is being delivered, it's starting to basically kind of come all together. And, really at the end of the day, the beauty here is that, we're getting to a place now where if we've done our job, the product, service, or consulting is doing its job, we need to basically be connecting with the client to help them understand that we are solving this problem in a new and meaningful way, especially if this is our first time in the journey. And the reason for that is that, kind of if this is the unique opportunity for us to not just deliver the work and hand over results, or to basically hand over kind of the approach. This is our opportunity to bring that work to life. We need to decode what is making this work interesting, unique, and powerful. And it's this stage that is critical to reinforcing the value of not just the work, but the process that we've gone through. Because at the end of the day, it's that process that illustrates and shows that we've built an incredible relationship of trust with that particular client. And this is the opportunity to really kind of forge that relationship, because in essence, this is where you can celebrate the success that you've achieved as a team. And it really is showing that it's through collaboration, communication, and kind of dedication that you're able to achieve fantastic results. Now, the project, kind of is a smashing success. The product is delivering, and you're basically kind of checking off the boxes that were promised as you went through the process of kind of figuring out how the relationship was going to work. And now kind of the client goes back to their comfort zone, but they're changed, they're new, they've gone through a process where they're looking at things a little bit differently because you've taken them through this process. And as a result, our story's not over. Because at the end of the day, while it may be easy for the client to resign themselves back into their day-to-day, where we need to be thinking about how to kind of participate in the next journey is we need to make sure that they understand how to tell that story. And, if we can help them relate this journey to kind of past projects where we didn't go through this process, in essence, what we're doing is we're inspiring them to plan for their next adventure with this process, our product, our solution in mind. In essence, what we're doing is that this journey is what needs to inspire them on their next journey. So really at the end of the day, let's bring it all together. There's greatness in every single client. And we and everyone that's viewing this is the key to helping them bring out the best version of themselves. So, let's help our clients feel like the heroes that they want to be. And the trick to that is, kind of borrowing from what we all know when we think about all of those great superhero movies that we love to watch, is to think about kind of the ways that we can kind of play a really important role to be that wise wizard, that kind of sidekick, or that kind of cute green puppet that kind of really kind of brings to life the potential of that person that is important to us because they are the client that is choosing to work with us. So I hope that you find this helpful, and really excited that everyone joined us today. So thank you very, very much, and wishing you all the best.